Once you take less, it's always hard to get more. So once a passing down, how fast do you guys need to get to the quarterback before he actually throws the ball?
2.5 seconds.
2.5.
As a defensive lineman, you got 2.5 seconds to get to the quarterback, or it's thrown. Unless the coverage is unreal, or he just a bad play or bad routes, or the O-lineman just gets out of there. But 2.5 seconds, if you can get there in 2.5 seconds, and that's crazy to think about, 2.5 seconds. Like, your first two steps should take probably a second and a half, and then you need to beat the O-lineman clean and get around the corner in 2.5 seconds to get a sack. So getting a sack's pretty impressive to think about it. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of guys, if you get one in game, you're a stud. A sack a game, you're a stud. And, like, honestly, as an O-lineman, right, if you get beat once or twice a game, you're a bad O-lineman or had a bad game. So it's weird how sacks have become such a thing nowadays, and defensive ends are getting paid so much money just to disrupt the quarterback.
I'm a big believer in this. Like, sacks are not just on the O-lineman, right? It's a couple factors, like you mentioned, that really play a factor into it. And I think if you're a good OC, you can almost scheme your way to make sure the ball's getting in your quarterback's hands efficiently to kind of make it harder for you guys to get there.
Yeah.
You don't want a bunch of deep routes all the time. You want to take your shots when you kind of see them and not take shots all the time. So, 2.5 that's pretty quick. You always got to hang on and not get beat, and the ball should be out of there.
Yeah. When you're, as an offensive lineman, like, I don't know much about the play calls. Like, do you know some play calls are going to be longer than others? Like, obviously a play action is going to be probably 3 seconds in there, right? And, like, do you guys have quick plays, like longer plays? Like, do you know how long to block for certain plays?
So good OC, I've been on teams that didn't tell you, but good OCs or good O-line coaches, they'll emphasize, okay, this is a longer developing pace, so you have to hold on a little bit longer. Usually when I hear those type of play calls, I'm not taking as much chances in terms of my set.
Yeah.
I'm going to be very clean, get to my angle, and use my hands. I'm not going to really switch up anything that could cause me to get beat quickly.
Yeah.
And depending if the slide is coming to me or I'm by myself, it'll also depend on how I set that as well.
Yeah. So on a play action, what's the normal time for a quarterback to get the ball out?
We're hoping if we do run a play action that you guys are actually going to believe it's a run.
Yeah.
If you run the ball consistently, we should get some action. The ball hopefully will get out in maybe 3 seconds instead of 2.5.
Yep.
But that's kind of wishful thinking. If you guys bite on the play, somebody should be open pretty quickly.
Yep.
If nobody bites, then it may take a little bit longer.
Do you guys have any quick plays where you got to, like, cut? Like, I always see sometimes, like, we'll have, like, you guys, some linemen would just have, like, a quick step and then just straight cut the knees out. What's the purpose of that?
So the purpose of that is this. It's probably a quick slant or quick play. We want to try and get your guys' hands down. Okay. Right? So we're not necessarily trying to get you on the ground, but if we can get your hands down on our shoulders, kind of preventing your guys from getting cut, so no one's actually jumping up and batting the ball. Like a person like Willie Jefferson, you got to get his hands down or stay engaged because he's going to stick his hands up. He's 6'6", 6'7", and he's going to bat the ball down every time.
I guess because those quick slants are more of like a direct throw. They're not lobbing it over anybody, right?
Yeah.
I understand that now.
So that's kind of the thought process behind it. Not every single team does it. I think even when us in Edmonton, we don't really cut like that. We always just short set for the most part. Yeah. That could change in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
But right now, that's kind of what it is.
To go off that 2.5 second sack, like, to get a sack in those 2.5 seconds to 3 seconds is like you have to make a clean move, the great get off. Everything's just got to go perfect. A lot of times getting sacks is a breakdown in coverage. I mean, great coverage. Or a breakdown in a route that didn't work, or somebody just gets beat clean, and he's just the quarterback scrambling around the pocket, and that's how you get your sack. Or somebody's bullying him, and he's got to get out of there. Normally, sacks don't happen in 2.5 seconds. Yeah, normally sacks happen in different ways.
Yeah, breakdown of the play. Yeah, receiver on the wrong route, the quarterback holds the ball. Great coverage, nobody's open.
Exactly.
Miscommunication up front. Yeah. That's usually when you guys get your more opportunities. And I find as a D lineman, that's when you really got to capitalize. Yeah. You can't have opportunities like that and miss sacks because you don't get those
very often.
Especially if you can play against a good offensive line or good offenses. Like, they don't really make those type of mistakes often.
One thing I saw this year where I learned is that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I think they had a really good offensive line this year. I think they were the best in sacks allowed and run game, weren't they?
I have no clue.
I'm pretty sure they were. And I think
better than Montreal. I know it was definitely.
I think it's Winnipeg, but if it's not, I think Winnipeg still has a decent O-lineman. They're always a good offensive line. But I learned that they set to where their quarterback sets. I learned that this year. So I guess like when they're kicking, they know how many steps Caleros is taking, and they take almost the same amount of steps to make sure they protect him. They know where they are, so they set for where he's going to be. They don't just go set. Did you hear about that?
I never heard that before.
I know. So we were
cool.
as a defensive line, we were thinking about that, right? And we were watching the film more and more, and like they don't just set on their own; they're always setting to where the quarterback Caleros is going to set. So they know if he runs them out too far, he knows that he's not going to be there. So it was a good idea to like figure it out in film.
Oh, pretty cool.
Yeah, it was weird to figure that out.
Yeah,
have you ever heard of that?
I've never heard that before.
The set where your quarterback sets?
I know we have different sets in terms of where he's going to set up in the pocket. So deeper sets, I might have a deeper kick. Yeah. Shorter sets, like a quick 3-step drop, I'll be more firm on the line of scrimmage. But unless he's rolling out or something, or he's going to a certain direction, we wouldn't even factor in where he's going to move in the pocket. Yeah. But I've always played with quarterbacks who move around. Like, you don't know where they're going to be back there.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like a Trey. Like, Trey, for the most part, he'll sit there, but as soon as things break down, he's using his legs to get out of there. So
yeah. What'd you think about the breaking news in Edmonton? New quarterback.
Very interesting. I can understand why they did it.
Yeah.
Right? I think this is a quarterback-driven league, and you can never have – it's like offensive linemen. You can never have too many good Canadian offensive linemen or too many good quarterbacks, right? Yeah. Especially look last year, how many starting quarterbacks went down at some point. So you need to have a couple of guys who are capable of playing. MBT, he's a Grey Cup champion. He's played a lot of football.
Yeah. He's a great quarterback.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback, so –
The comments in like how they're going, it seems like they're kind of not trashing them, but they're like saying free Trey Ford. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the Edmonton should be almost happy that they got a great quarterback. They got two great quarterbacks, and that's hard to get.
I see, but it's fans though, right? Yeah. Obviously, like as football people understand is you can never have too many good quarterbacks.
Exactly.
Like, you always want to have a couple of guys. You always don't want to have just enough. You want to have you also want to have 3 good quarterbacks you can, because if someone gets hurt, you don't want to have to drastically shift the game plan, or you want to have to be super run focused because you can't move the ball otherwise, right? So
seriously,
I think having a good veteran quarterback, and I think that he'll come in and he'll help Trey develop as well too, and help him see the game through a different lens.
Isn't Trey developed though? Didn't we see him go off last year? Like lead you guys to like 4 wins and like.
No, Trey is good, but quarterback's always going to keep on developing unless you're Peyton Manning, Tom Brady.
No, I agree.
Right? You
can
keep on getting better, right?
But for the fans that want Trey Ford to start, what are you telling them?
Be patient. He will probably play at some point this year, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I don't know the situation in terms of if they're actually going to be a battle, seeing how much they paid MBT. I doubt it will be that, but we'll see how it goes. And Trey's a dog. Trey's a baller. When that time comes for him to play, he will be ready and he'll show up and do what he does.
Yeah. Do you think Jones just doesn't trust him or what?
You trying to get me cut over here?
No, that's a good question. That's a good.
I think Jones is, and one thing I've been around Coach Jones. He drafted me in 2016. He is a winner.
Yeah.
Anything that he thinks will give him a better chance to win, he's going to do it. Like he doesn't really.
Yeah, and it was a good signing.
It was a good signing, right? Yeah. I think they wanted a veteran quarterback, someone who's been through a lot of games, who is battle tested. Not to say that Trey is not any of those things, but he's going to his 3rd year in the CFL, right?
Yeah.
And he has not really been the day one starter yet in this league. And I think that those guys want to give us the best chance right now to win. They believe that's what a veteran quarterback who's not going to take as much growing pains as a young one would.
So I've been looking at my reels lately, and I've been seeing, is lineman swag a thing?
Good question. I think there is a thing to lineman swag, right?
Yeah.
And you have a couple different guys who have it in a different way. I'm looking at Orlando Brown, how he's kind of swagged out.
Yeah.
On and off the field. Look at Trent Williams, the long sleeves, how he kind of handles and dresses himself.
Yeah.
I'm not really a big fan of the bands and all the other things. Like a nice arm sleeve, maybe a long sleeve.
How about a face mask? Like a dark face mask?
Oh, yeah. I'm a visor guy, too. I rocked the visor a couple times. Yeah, visor on an old lineman, if you're nice, is
precise.
It's pretty sick. So,
what else on an old lineman? Like what would stand out for just swag? Like, is too much a thing? And
I think it's too much can be a thing, but I think it's like one of those things where if your game day swag is nice and your game matches that, people respect it.
I agree. But what happens if you're trash and you're just swagged out? Like, do you have to be good to swag out?
You have to be good to swag out.
You have to be good to swag out.
You can't be horrible and then going in there with Jordan cleats and all the bands on your arms and the single sleeve and all those different things. They'll be like, what's this guy's problem?
So you got to upgrade your talents before you upgrade your swag.
First thing is get the talent. Second thing is get the swag.
That's funny, man, because I remember when I was in grade 9 and grade 10, man, I was wearing number 60 as a DN, right? Number 60. I had no swag. I would wear nothing, right? And I had no high socks, low socks, nothing. Wasn't even wearing gloves, right? Looked hilarious, right? Then I kind of figured out, I'm not bad at this thing here, right? So I was like, next year I was like, okay, I can't be 60.
Yeah.
Switch it up to 44. Wear some armbands. Wear some cool cleats, right? But it's true. You need to be good to get swaggy.
Yeah.
Or it just doesn't make sense.
There's some guys who and I can never do this. They go out there with the generic Madden swag. When I say that is when you first start to make a creative player, you don't put anything on them. No gloves.
Yeah.
No tape. No nothing. Just out there bare arms. It's like, bro, this guy here is.
Those guys can be savages, though.
They can be savages. I played with a guy named Neela back at OU, and he never wore gloves. I think he wore gloves maybe 1 or 2 times, but in college, he was always just bare arms.
Was he a fullback?
No, he was an O-lineman, a guard, and he was a mauler. So, like, it fits some people, right? But, I got to have at least a glove or something on, man.
I remember this Florida State fullback back in the day, or, like, there was a fullback that would just wear nothing, and he would just catch these balls. I forget who it was. I had to search it up, but...
Florida State fullback. I think I know what you're talking about. You wear like number 35 or 45. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He just wore nothing. That was like the generic man.
Maybe he's an O'Brien or something. I can't remember his name. But yeah, no, 100%.
Forget what that is.
Yeah. I think especially all the different position groups. I think DBs, obviously, they go the furthest when it comes to the swag.
Yeah, even if they're good or not.
They're going to go in, make sure their Instagram pictures are nice and everything of their outfit for the day.
Yeah.
I think they go too far sometimes.
Yeah, facts. Here's a good question. You know, in high school, like you have to develop from grade 9 to grade 12, you develop your swag. Now when you go to university, do you have to restart your swag all over again?
You got to restart your swag. And I think what kind of clout you come in, right?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if you are a freshman, usually, and if you're a high-profile guy, you can probably pick your number that you want a little bit more.
Yeah.
They're not going to question you as much. But if you're like a unknown person trying to come in there and prove yourself, you better not go and grab that single digit.
Nah.
You better not ask to go get a visor.
Yep.
You better not ask coach for all these different cleats and colors and stuff like that to draw attention to yourself. Until you know what you're doing, do not draw any attention to yourself.
And the same thing happens when you go to the pros.
Yep.
Yep.
Go right that process all over again.
It's crazy.
So, hey, in the comments, you guys let us know what your swag is, what you guys like to wear on a game day. What's the ultimate O-line, D-line, whatever position you play, what's your ultimate swag? For you, what do you think the secret to a successful bull rush is?
Well, if you're bigger and stronger, you're going to have a successful bull rush every time. But if you're an undersized guy going against a bigger old lineman, man, you got to get him like when he's not expecting it. You got to go speed, then speed the power, right? You got to get him on his tippy toes a little bit, like thinking you're going to speed him again, so he's got to open his hips and run you out. And as soon as he does that, you got to get right into his shoulder pads and then be explosive. Because you know you're not going to be stronger than the offensive lineman, but you got to convert your speed to power. And that's how you're going to win a good bull rush. When he's not expecting it, is when you hit him, right? Just like when you're in boxing, right? You get knocked out by the punch you didn't see coming. So that's exactly how you bull rush somebody for undersized people. If you're just a bigger dude, I'd bull rush that guy every time. What do you think? What do you think as an old lineman when you get beat? How you get beat when you get beat by a bull rush?
I think it's angles. I think if you're a good DN, you can rush at different angles that will turn and dictate my set, right?
Yeah.
So speed to power is always the best way to bull rush, I think. Unless you're just a monster, you can line up and run straight through somebody.
Yeah.
If you look at the old NFL clips of like Michael Strahan and those guys, they will line up and just run through people every time. But they're big, 6'4", 6'5", 209, strong, right?
Longer arms.
The football's not really like that anymore. The DNs now are turning into like the old school linebackers of that time.
Yeah.
They're probably like 245 to 250.
Yeah.
Up here, down there, they're like 270.
270.
And they're quick, they're athletic.
Yeah.
So they can give you that speed and then go with the power afterwards. The best opportunity you have to get big linemen, I will assume, is speed to power.
Speed to power, right?
Don't expect it. Set it up, show speed.
When your hips are open, right? I'm assuming, right? Because when your hips are square, you can kind of take that power more.
Yeah, if they're square, if I can see and I'm square, I can pretty much sit down the bull rush against most people. If you're going speed where I have to worry about flipping my hips, and that time I turn my hips, if you hit with the power, I don't have anything to really like brace with.
Yeah.
I'm off the ground. I'm not really rooted into the ground right now. So
you ever get caught?
I've got caught in a bull rush a couple times.
You have?
Like, oh yeah. I think if you're playing football at the highest level, man, you're gonna get caught with a bull rush
for sure.
Because you going against people who are pretty good and they can set it up pretty well, right? So,
yeah. You taking them down with you though?
Nah. It all depends on the scenario, because I feel like nothing's worse than like the beat, the sack, and then the hold. Like, that's like the trifecta of death for O-linemen. Because now they're going to show on the replay who got the penalty, draw the attention to you. Like, you don't want to get to 3. Like,
film room would be shit too the next day.
Yeah, it was going to be horrible. Yeah, you not only did you get beat, but you gave up the sack and you gave up a holding call. Oh my goodness.
Have you ever had a game that you just went into the game and there was a guy always bull rushing you and you just knew he had no other move but this bull rush?
I've run into a couple people who know they're power rushers.
Yeah.
And you kind of just, my game plan really is I'm going to take away what I think you're the best at. Mm-hmm. So if you're a power rusher, I'm going to cut my set. I'm going to take you on farther from the quarterback.
Yeah.
And if you want a bull, it's going to be, okay, tougher. Who's tougher at this point? Who has a little bit more juice in the tank? Like,
do you like those games?
I think they're easier than somebody who's a little more quick and fast.
Yeah.
Because especially if I'm bigger and stronger than you, right? If you're a bigger, stronger DN and like you're consistently rocking me back, then it's okay. Like, I gotta figure something out here.
Yeah.
But if I'm bigger and strong and just hold and sit on it, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Go off a bull rush. When I'm on special teams, I'm the guard on special teams, and when it's like 3rd and 1 in the CFL, the team will leave their defense on there just in case we're faking it, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm lining up. I'm literally a guard, right? Because beside our lawn snapper, which would be the center, in front of 2 of the D tackles, right? And then we're kicking back like an offensive lineman, and these guys bull me every time. I get bull rushed almost all the way back into the damn punter, man. So before I go, every time I'm like, hey, yo, we're good, right? Like, just, it's a playoff, right? I try to, like, be nice to them. None of them, bro. They'll just come right at me.
Oh, yeah, especially, I remember, like, who has a really good bull rush? Jake.
Oh, yeah, oh, bro, he grabbed me, man, and just headbutted me, right? Yeah. And like I said in the other one, man, I got off it, and I was running, and he was right beside me.
Yeah.
That guy's a fast motherfucker.
Freak.
And the only guy that was kind of nice to me, man, it was last year, I was playing against McKenna Henry. He was on Edmonton, right?
Yeah.
And the only reason he didn't come because he was just so tired, right? He was just sitting there. I was like, yo, I'll just let you go.
But to be honest with you, that's the person you don't want to bull you.
When he almost had a few punt blocks last year, too.
So it's funny. I remember when Mac first got up here to the CFL, he came up here to Sask. And we're doing one-on-ones. And at this time, he hasn't played football, I think, in like a couple of years.
Yeah.
And all he knew how to do at this time was bull rush. But, like, he has that mentality where he's going to bull rush you and not stop. Right?
No, he's a freak.
So, like, you'll sit it down, and you think at some point in one-on-ones he would, like, let up and stop.
Yeah.
He would not let up and stop. He would keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Like, yo, where's the whistle? Is this over yet? And he would just try to bull rush you all the way back into the quarterback every single time if he can.
Watching film with Mac is the funniest stuff.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, Mac, what are you doing?
I've seen him do some crazy things on the field. Like, I remember one time we were playing, Winnipeg? It was a goal line situation. And you know, most times goal line situation, everybody's kind of submarining low.
Yeah.
He stands up damn near straight. He takes on the guard in the center with like both of his hands, stuffs it, throws the guard to the side, makes the tackle for like a stop in a situation.
Yeah.
I look back, I'm like, bro, this guy is a different animal.
No, he's different. I'm surprised he's not playing anymore either. I guess he's 36.
Yeah, he's getting up there in age, man. But no, Mac, he's a legend. And those who know Mac Henry,
and you know what's funny? I think he's the greatest guy in the community.
Greatest person.
Greatest guy in the community. Yeah. So shout out Mac.
Shout out Mac Henry. He's a monster, but he's a great dude.
Monster.
Now that we're playing professional football, I want to talk a little bit of how we actually got to be professional athletes. What caused you to play football in the first place?
I don't know. I think my parents just put me into the game, honestly. I was like 7 or 8, right? And I remember even going to practice at 7, 8, and I hated it. I put on my helmet, and I couldn't even buckle up my chin strap. You know what I mean? I literally put it on and I couldn't get this thing on, right? So it was like most embarrassing thing because when I had it on, I knew I couldn't take it off because I couldn't put it back on. So when all these kids, all my buddies were like taking water breaks, they're taking their helmets off and they're drinking water. I have my helmet on still, trying to like squirt water through my thing, just feeling embarrassed, right? So I remember I went home and I'm like, I hate football, right? And my parents just kind of like said, no, you're sticking through it. And I remember the whole year I still hated it, right? But the one thing I was good at was just running over people. Like I remember I was an O-lineman and our running back got hurt. And they needed a running back, right? So they had our old linemen were all sitting in a row, and like the fastest guy got to be the running back. And I was like, no way, right? So I was the fastest old lineman when I was 8 or 9 years old, and they put me at running back. And I remember just trucking kids, man, all year, like literally dropping kids. And my dad was just laughing, and that's what made me enjoy football, the contact of it. The fact that I could just go out there and run some dude over, right? And that was just like the adrenaline, like this is happening, boom, 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 right? And it wasn't even from a defensive perspective. It was from playing running back. So that's where I fell in love with the game. What about you?
It's funny because I actually started playing football a little bit later. I didn't play football until I got to grade 9.
Oh.
Yeah. So my parents are from the Caribbean, so soccer was something that we kind of started playing out first. Soccer, track and field. My aunt ran Olympics, so track was really a big thing I wanted to kind of try and do.
Yeah.
Basketball. Obviously, I was tall, so people were like, oh, yeah, play basketball. But when you're here in Canada, that age, you're playing the big. You're not playing anything else other than the center. It's different now, but back then, if you were the tallest on the team, you were the center, no matter what your skill level was.
Yeah. I remember that, too. I was like a 6'3" center.
Yeah, which, like, you can't go do anything with that after if you're doing that.
Not at all.
So it came to the point where I was going to high school. My older brother had went, and he started playing football in grade 9, and he's one of the best, like, players in the area.
Oh.
So I actually happened just to go to, like, a little, I guess, pre-football season, like, preview, if you want to play or not, meetings.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, one of the coaches being like, yeah, you were Joel's brother, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, you're playing football. You don't have a chance. You don't have a choice. You have to play.
So the coach just made you play football then?
Yeah, he was pretty much like, yeah, you're playing football. So
yeah,
I gave it a shot. I wanted to play. At this time, I was decently tall, but I was skinny. I wasn't really big at this time. So I started playing tight end at first. So that was my main position. I played tight end from the 9th grade all the way to 11th grade.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
So why'd they put you at tight end and not O-line?
Because I wanted to play tight end.
Oh, you told them?
Yeah, I was athletic too. Like, I could run. It wasn't really until I was in grade 11, and my brother, we were playing on the same high school team this time. He was playing left tackle, and our right tackle at the time, I think he hurt his back or he couldn't play for a game. Like, okay, we'll just put you to O-line for this game, and like we'll move you back to tight end when he gets back. And safe to say, I never made it off the line of scrimmage ever since then.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you sad?
I wasn't necessarily sad, but like we obviously at that age, who wants to play O-line? Really?
Yeah.
Like,
were you even catching touchdowns at tight end though?
Not
really. Yeah.
Blocking tight end for the most part.
Okay.
But like I like the ability to go on a route every once in a while.
So what made you fall in love then? What was the factor there?
It wasn't until my senior year of high school. I remember we played our last game, and I remember we were playing our rivals too. I was playing O-line at this time. I'm moving to D-tackle. I'm playing all over the place at high school. You know, like you play everywhere pretty much.
Yeah.
And I remember just making a bunch of tackles and really being like, yo, like this cannot be the end of my football career. I have to play after this.
Okay.
Because previous to this, I really had no plans of playing in college.
Really?
No, not at all. I was like, oh, I'm going to play football a couple of years, then go to get a trade and get a job. I wasn't really focused on playing at the next level of football.
Did your brother go play college football?
No, my older brother didn't actually.
Okay.
He was done too. My other brother went to college. I was the next one. It wasn't really till my senior year where I was like, okay, I think I do want to play football. I remember going home during Christmas break, and during that time, you see a lot of like bowl games happening for NCAA. I remember watching a bowl game like, yo, this looks sick. Like, this is fun, bro. Like, I want to do this. And I remember just figuring out what I could possibly do to be able to go and play college football. And that's kind of how I got into it, man. As a D lineman, what helps you recognize whether it's a play action or to be able to read and react to exactly what's going on, run past play action?
One thing that I've learned in the play action and how to like decipher if he's really run blocking me or if it's just a pass play is his weight. How much weight is he putting on me? You know what I mean? Like, if it's a run play, he's coming off the ball and coming off the rock and he's trying to smash me. You know what I mean? He's trying to put me in the ground. He's trying to move me. In a play action, he's coming off the ball a little bit, but then he's stopping. You know what I mean? Then he's not putting too much weight on you, and he's just going to grab you a little bit. As soon as I feel that, then I'm completely switching into a pass rush, and that's how I decipher the play action.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, that's how I do it normally. How do you think the guys figure it out?
So I would assume the same thing. for me, especially when I'm selling a play action run or I'm actually run blocking, is going to be where I actually leverage my hands, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? So if it's a play action, I'm probably going to come out. I want to almost stomp to show like I'm going to run past.
Yeah.
And as soon as I see your hands extend into my chest, I'm going to grab the outsides of your shoulders. I'm just going to squeeze and not let you go pretty much.
Yeah.
And then move my feet with you.
So in run, you're gonna drive them out normally.
In a run, I'm going to try and fit my hands inside.
Yeah. And drive or no?
And drive.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think that's where I feel it. When you're driving, I understand I got to anchor down here, and when you're not driving, I need to transition to a pass rush.
Yeah. So most people, I'm gonna say most O-linemen, because where we want to grab generally is different, especially in run and pass.
Yeah.
But in this situation, if you're going against a lineman, I would say look for it on tape. Play action, if he's grabbing outside usually, and if it's a run play, he really generally wants to be inside.
Yeah.
So if you see his hands tight, probably run. If you see his hands outside, probably play action.
But there's different offensive linemen and different techniques how linemen do it, right? So you got to study your guy.
You have to study that. I would say that's not 100% for every single one you go against.
No.
But I would say that's something, if you're watching tape and you're kind of seeing, okay, tells about how he does certain things, that's a good tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially, for instance, for you guys, one thing I look at is where your hands go if you guys are actually taking on a run or unless you guys are stunting back inside, right? So I look at your hands. If your hands are like here to catch the run block, usually you're staying outside. If I see your hands like this, you're probably playing back inside.
You're trying to cut back inside.
So that's a tell that as an O-lineman, I'm looking to see when I'm coming off the ball as well.
Yeah.
If I see your hands like this, okay, I can accelerate because I know you're probably going to try to play the block. If I see your hands down, it's like, okay, he's not going to play the block. I might have to decelerate here and may have to move my feet or push him out wide at a different angle. Right?
Yeah, I agree. I have a question for you. Why is there different O-lineman sets, and why do different guys have like a high puncher? Why do dudes low punch, and why do guys like kind of like wide punch it sometimes?
That's a good question. I think it's just as O-lineman development has changed over the years.
Yeah.
Depending on who your coach is, they'll teach you different things. Right?
Oh, okay.
So you can kind of generally see what family or what thought a person comes from generally of what they try to do. I am not really a grabber. I'm a puncher for the most part.
Yeah.
I'll grab you in certain instances, but I'm always going to try and strike, punch. If I get a good punch and I can stick, then I'll grab you then. But for the most part, it's going to be punch.
Did that come from a coach or did that come from preference?
That came from both. So a coach that taught me and then me also implementing it and it working for my game.
Okay. Sometimes
people, if you don't have long arms, I would say you probably want to be more of a grabber.
Yeah.
Right? Let them get in close to you. Grab, move your feet, right?
So it's about how you are as a person, your athletic abilities, how you're built as an offensive lineman, and how it develops you into how you're setting and how you punch and how you're a technique.
Certain things work better for certain people.
Yep.
And that's why I always say, like, you watch a lot, try a lot, especially when you're a young age in high school. Try to see what works for your game, right? Because not everything your coach teaches you in terms of technique is going to work for your body type.
Exactly. Just like you wouldn't have a 300-pound guy being a speed rusher.
It just doesn't work for him.
It just won't work for him, even if he wants to be one.
Even if he wants to be to the bottom of his heart.
It won't work out.
Not his game. Right?
No.
So once you understand that and you find different techniques, different things that work for you, and you think that, okay, I have this, I can actually implement my game, then sharpen it now. Now I'm working on it. Now I'm more accurate with my outside hand. I'm more... my outside hand is quicker. I can punch harder, right? Like,
I think that's a big thing, finding your technique young and figuring out what works for you at a young age so you can develop it. Because we're always developing. Even 100%. Right now as a pro, we're still trying to figure out our stuff.
Yeah, 100%. That's one of those things where in pro sports, for the most part, we're always trying to get better. There's nobody out there who's being like, oh, well, I've arrived. I don't have to improve my game at all. Even at the highest level, even like guys like Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, these top-end quarterbacks, probably some of the greatest quarterbacks who ever played. I guarantee you until the time they were done, they're consistently trying to get an edge, trying to get better, trying to work on their game. And it proves the same when it comes to offensive line, defensive line. All of the positions, you have to always work on your game and sharpen your tools all the time.
Agree. Just as everything in life.
Everything in life, man.
Yep.
Football is the best mirror for life, man. Everything you have to do to get better in football, it can be mirrored to life 100% of the time.
It is. I couldn't agree more. One thing being a defensive lineman, and it probably goes the same as offensive lineman, was I've always been told you need to weigh more. You need to gain weight. You need to be bigger. And, like, it's always been so hard for me to gain weight. What advice would you give to young offensive linemen, young defensive linemen on gaining weight?
I think that's an important lesson for young O-linemen. I think there's a number of ways you can do it, But the most healthy way you can gain weight is by proper dieting and lifting weights.
Yep.
You definitely want to do that. I remember when I got some advice, people like, just start eating a bunch of food and you'll gain weight, which is true somewhat, but it's not just food. It's the particular food you want to eat.
Yeah.
So a little story for you. When I got to OU, I was like 320 pounds. The first year that I got there, I had the red shirt. They're like, hey, your body fat percentage is too high. We want it to be at this level. We're going to probably tear you down and build you back up to a more healthy weight. So my first semester there, I went from 224 pounds to 275, 280 in a semester.
Jeez. Off what?
Working out.
Okay.
And just dieting.
Yeah.
So we actually had a section in heading to our dorms where we had a cafeteria, and our nutritionist would go in there and eat with us during our meals. So if you're on a weight loss, she will go and make plates for you. And if she saw you eating anything that wasn't appropriate, she would take your plate, she would throw it out, and she'd be like, go make it again. Or she'll make it for you, right? Yeah, it's serious.
Some Div 1 stuff right there.
Yeah, Div 1 stuff. But you'll go in there, and there was different, like, symbols. So anything that was red is, like, high in fat, and then yellow is like, okay, and then red is, like, don't eat, basically, right?
Yeah.
So they'll be like, hey, if you're on weight loss, you should be only eating stuff that has the greens. You shouldn't be anything that has anything that's red, and maybe occasional yellow you can have. So we had to design our plates based on that.
Okay.
I lost a bunch of weight, and now it's time for me to put it back on. So just because of how much we run and lift, that was something that was hard. I remember I was walking, and I was going to a meeting, and I only had like one little sandwich. And my offensive coordinator, Coach Heupel, he's the head coach of Tennessee now. He's like, you're trying to put on weight. Why do you only have one sandwich right now?
Yeah.
Go get another sandwich. And these guys made me basically, after workouts, taking these protein shakes. They would have little packs of like cashews, little packs of like Rice Krispies, different things. So, like, you have to be eating all day, basically.
All the time.
So not like you're going to like eat a bunch of big meals, but taking like some peanuts, cashews, different snack bars, and in class you're snacking on it all the day, all the time.
Yeah.
And through working out and taking protein, I was able to get my weight up to like 305, 310 within probably 7-8 months. So
jeez.
Yeah,
good weight?
Good weight. My body fat percentage was 18% at that time. So
do you think you could have done that without being in a Div 1 school and these people really keeping you accountable?
I think anything is possible. It's just harder.
It's harder,
right?
Yes.
I think when you're at a Div 1 school, it's easier because they're literally baby feeding you all this stuff. Like, I didn't have to think about it. I had someone constantly reminding me about it. Every time they saw me and I didn't have a snack in my hand, they're like, why don't you have a snack in your hand?
Yeah.
Go get some cashews. I'll have to go to the snack bar, and they'll have a little packet full of stuff for me. Like, they made sure that was the case, right? But
I agree, yeah.
if you're a person who doesn't have that situation, but you want to put on weight, maybe it looks like you asking your parents, hey, can you get me some of these snacks I can take to school during the day?
Yeah.
Maybe during breaks or going between class, you get a handful of peanuts, handful of cashews. I don't know what your school regulations are on peanuts or stuff like that.
Have them on hand.
Have them on hand. Always snacking, always be eating.
Yeah.
And get into like a gym program, especially at the high school time. Get somebody who actually knows, who's knowledgeable. But I find at that time in your life, your gains are never going to be as high as they are now, right?
No, never. And one thing I would always say with all those things you're saying, from food to the gym, is you need to be consistent.
Consistency is key.
Like, you can't just snack every third day or every second day like you think you're going to gain weight. You need to do that every day for 7 months. Every single day for 7 months.
Single day.
And for the gym, you need to do and be on path for like 4 to 5 times a week. And when you're resting, you need to take those rest days off, because some people are not even going to the gym, and there's some people overworking out, and then they don't see gains. So it's all about being consistent and having a good plan. And just that's, I think, how you're going to get bigger.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
100%. As a D lineman, how does your technique change when it's short yardage or like a goal line situation?
Well, if I'm in there, man, hopefully I'm looking at the sideline and I'm like, hey guys, it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and inches. Maybe get me out here because I'm a 230 defensive end, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, even Pete this year, I remember looking at him, and he would, when he was short yardage, he was looking for Christmas to come in. And Pete's still like 250, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm in there and I'm forced to be on 3rd and 1 in preseason and stuff like that, and they're making me do it, I'm just torpedoing, man. You know what I mean? That's my mindset. Like, like the big D tackles might take 2, but if I'm an undersized guy, I'm torpedoing those legs. And it sucks because you're stuck underneath the pile, but it sucks more when you're trying to take 2 guys like yourself on, and then you're 5 yards back in film. Worst thing that could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recognize most of you guys, all you guys submarine that legs, which is annoying. I get my knees cut up and stuff like that.
What do you think about us submarining you guys?
It is what it is. Usually we tell our quarterback, if you're going to do that, just go over top. We'll just fall on top of you guys.
Yeah.
But you do have the occasional D lineman who will try and like stay up.
I know. What do you think about those dudes?
I tip my hat to them.
Yeah.
They take that butt whipping like a man. I tip my hat to them.
Miles,
we're going to run
year?
off the ball. We're going to run off the ball and try and just mash you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think if you really want to make a stand, that's probably the best case scenario. And you guys had a good one against us this year, to be honest with you.
The first game of the year?
The first game of the year. And the first time we did it, a bunch of you guys stayed up, and we kind of expect you guys a submarine. The second time you guys stayed up, we mashed you guys in the end zone, but they ran the ball to the opposite side.
Well, you guys also played 5R at goal line. Sorry, for all 3 plays. Let's just run 5R, guys, and run the ball every time. It's
funny because as soon as that happened, the next week we put in elephant and rhino packages. We took all the receivers off there and put a bunch of bigs in the game now.
That could have won you the game, honestly.
We should have won that game.
You should have won that game, yeah.
We should have won that game.
But you didn't.
Lucky, to be honest with you. I think, to be honest with you, if we would have won that game, that would have changed our season.
Changed a lot.
Because I think that during camp, I've been in a lot of camps. That was a pretty good camp that we had, actually.
Yeah.
The D-line, the O-line, we were working consistently every day. It was competitive. We were grinding. I think that we had a young team. I think we had like the youngest team in the CFL. And when we didn't win that first game, I think it knocked our confidence a little bit.
Yeah.
I think if we would have won that first game and understood what it took to win in the CFL, we would have progressed a lot faster.
You know what knocks your confidence though a little bit? Guaranteeing a win.
Yeah, I hear that.
And then losing that game.
But we should have beat you guys that game.
But
let's be real.
What's the point of guaranteeing anything?
I think
in professional sports and professional and just business and life, you shouldn't be guaranteeing anything.
I think it was more so like a thing for the city and the media. Remember, we had a losing streak at this time, right?
I agree.
That's why it wasn't like our coach was like, "Oh, we guaranteed." Like that was the messaging.
I know.
But I think during this time,
we took it as playing you guys all week. We were like, they're guaranteeing this win,
and we should have beat you guys. That's the funniest part about it. We actually should have beat you guys.
I know, but like, what do you think about that? What do you think about people guaranteeing stuff, just in life in general?
I think the confidence is good, man. But like, if you're gonna stand out there and guarantee it, and you don't follow through, you have to be able to take it on the chin. When people say, like, you did this, you did that, you guaranteed this. Yeah, we guaranteed we lost. That's what you got to be able to stand on that.
I agree with that.
I think that gives the other team bulletin board material, which in pro sports is actually a more powerful thing than you would believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that not giving other teams an extra motivation to beat up on you, which everybody at the end is pro sports. We're all trying to win. Like nobody's going out there like, oh, I don't know if we're going to win this week, right? We're all trying to go out there and win their game.
Yeah.
But I think giving them a little extra motivation at that time is something that's tough. I remember even when I was in Sask and we played Edmonton during the blackout game when I was there, and they came and beat us at home. I remember the look on Coach Jones and those guys' face when they beat us here. They were over the moon. And me being in Edmonton and coming back in that same game and beating you guys this year was like, it's my first game back. I just left from injury, broke my hand.
Yep.
I just came back, so I was really excited about being able to play in Regina, obviously because I live here now.
Yeah.
And to go and beat you guys in that game was like, that was like, everything's okay for me at this point.
And we both missed the playoffs this year.
Yeah, sucks.
When you were getting recruited, what was the big thing when it came down to choosing the school you wanted to go to? For me, it was such a new process coming from Canada. We were not really prepared in terms of like, okay, you're going on a recruiting visit. This is what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be looking for. Yeah. So I kind of went in with the open mind of like, okay, well, let's see how much fun I have on this visit and let's see where I'm going to go. And it's funny because the visit I actually had the most fun on was Texas Tech. I remember I ended up like verbaling to them I was supposed to go to Texas Tech. Just maybe breaking news to a bunch of people. I was supposed to go there instead of OU. Wow. And I think the coaching staff, Toby Tuberville, I think his name was, they ended up leaving going to Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. So once that happened, my recruitment kind of opened up again. But one thing that somebody told me on my OU visit that kind of stood out to me was understand what is real. So when you go on a visit, especially Division I school, they take you to the nicest steakhouses. You go out and have a fun time. You stay in the nicest hotels. They make sure your trip is perfect for you. People are kind of serving you hand and foot to make sure like they don't sway you in a way that you would not want to go to that school. And I remember this guy told me something. He was like, hey, understand what is real. You're never going to get that steakhouse again because you don't have any money. You're never going to stay at a hotel again. Mm-hmm. A lot of the things you're doing, that's not going to be your daily life.
really look into what your daily life is going to be at that school. So that's probably my biggest advice.
Yeah.
Whether you're going to a big Division I school or any other program, find out what your daily life's going to be.
Yeah.
Right. Get close to who you're going to be spending the most time with, which is going to be your strength and conditioning coach, your position coaches. Head coach, generally, you're not going to be around them that much.
So what gave you OU those vibes?
The sense of family was pretty good there.
Okay.
People generally seem to care.
Mm-hmm.
The tradition of the place. Football was a big deal. Our strength and conditioning program was one of the best in the country from what I've heard.
Yep.
So all those different things, and that talk with that guy, he kind of was like, yeah, like, this is what it's going to be, and this is what you have to base your decision off of. And any other place I've been to, they just try to take you, hey, come out at night and go have fun and do different things like that. So I didn't really have a good understanding of what my daily life would be there.
Yeah.
So I think that's really made me choose OU in that situation. I understood when I got up in the morning to the time I went to bed at night what my day would look like, and I had to kind of wrestle with that. Is this something that I think fits for me? And I made a chance to go to OU.
Awesome, man. That's really cool, Jerry.
What about you, man? What was your recruiting visits, stuff like that?
I never got any states offers.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only offer I got was from North Dakota, and they gave me like 50%. But going to the states, it was still like $20,000 a year, right? So I could never do anything like that where I was coming from. But I did get like almost every offer in Canada, right? So I did remember going on all the recruiting trips and just like you said, going to have fun, right? Like, I just took this chance to go on like 6 or 7 recruiting trips around Canada. I kind of just enjoyed it. I should have probably really paid more attention of it back in the day, but at the end of the day, man, I was I wanted to stay closer to home. Like, I could have went anywhere, right? And then I just saw that my high school coach, my defensive coordinator, he was my Team Canada coach, my provincial coach, which would state coach. And then he ended up being the Rams coach, the university coach for my home team. So as soon as I saw that, it was more comfortable. It was like, I know this guy's system. I know everything. They don't have great D linemen. I'm just going to go there and hopefully make a name for myself. And then it ended up working out, right? I ended up being Rookie of the Year my first year there, and ended up starting right away as a freshman. So the plan did work out. So I would say to people, you can go to the best schools. You can go to the Westerns. You can go to Laval's in Canada, or go to the best schools like Alabama and Michigan right now.
Oklahoma.
Michigan, Oklahoma right now, right, in the States. But at the end of the day, if you know you might not start your first 2 years, you can go make a name for yourself on a lower team, right? And then at the end of the day, you can transfer after you make a name for yourself, or you can stay there and make a name for yourself and be that guy. But people can make pro from anywhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you go. You can be a professional if you put in the work and put in the great film.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. I think development is the thing that is the most important thing.
Yeah.
The logo on the side of your helmet or on your jersey, it'll matter for the first week, but after that is, can you go and develop at the place you want to go, right? Like, am I going to become a better person, a better student, and a better athlete where I'm going? I think that should be probably the top weighted things, whether it's a high Division I, whether it's Laval or one of those programs, whether it's some place that's like USC in California. That stuff is okay, but when it generally comes to what your ultimate goal is to develop to become NFL, CFL, or whatever pro league you want to play in, it's very important that you go to a place that you can actually develop so you can get an opportunity. Because it doesn't make a difference if you go to Laval and you don't really get developed and then you're done playing football in 3 years, right?
Exactly.
So I think that's the most important part I would say is go to some place you feel you can get developed and you understand what your daily life is going to be. Yeah.
How about going back now, since we're in the professionals, we understand a bunch of stuff now. If you could go back in the day and you had a choice to go to like a really high school, but red shirt for like 4 years and only play that last year, or go to a really low end Div 2 school and play every season?
Know what I know now, go to the Div 2.
Yeah.
Because if you want to go, the most important thing I would say in development is actually playing. Like, you can do a bunch of drills, you can do a bunch of stuff in the weight room. That stuff is going to help, but you need experience.
In-game reps.
Yep. That's what's going to progress you the fastest in terms of improving your game, right?
I agree.
It doesn't make much sense to go to a place if you're barely going to play. If you want to go to a place that's going to develop you the fastest, a place you're going to play usually is going to be the best place to go.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
And sometimes it may look like you go into a lower level team, or it may go into not a team who's as stacked like an Alabama, but you actually have the opportunity to get on the field, get reps, developed, be in some situations, make some mistakes, right? You go to Alabama, you make a couple mistakes, depending on who you are, you may not be in there no more, right?
You're out.
You go to a team that's a little bit lower, you may have more of a leash to make some mistakes and improve your game. So I think that's really important. I think that's the biggest thing I would give advice to who are doing now.
Exactly. And even to the drills you do, like some drills you don't need to be doing. Like know what your position is doing, know what you do every day in game, and just do that. It could be as simple as just doing the basics in your drills and just repeating those every day, and you'll become a better person in your position.
100%.
So
I agree.
Just with stuff like that too, I've learned. Like there's a lot of stuff back in the day where I was doing a bunch of stupid drills, right? And now that I'm understanding, like, oh, I should just be doing the basics, right? Like hands on every time. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's with me as all linemen too, and there's a bunch of stuff out there, and I think just keep it simple, man. Sets, hand usage, strength, learning how to hit bags appropriately, getting your hands tight, staying low in your pad level. Those are probably the best things I would say for you to do on a daily basis to really improve your game the fastest.
And get competition. Yeah. You know what I mean? In the offseason, don't be by yourself thinking that you're getting better by yourself. Compete with people. Have people that push you and that you fail. If you're failing in the offseason, you're getting better because you're not going to fail when it comes to camp and then learn from camp experiences. You're learning from experiences that you learned in the offseason that you know when camp comes that, oh, I've learned from this already. So now I'm going to embarrass myself in a film in camp and in front of the big guys.
100%. I know you guys have spidey senses that sometimes come up. How do you guys sniff out screens? What do you guys see where you see a screen or a draw play that allows you to kind of sniff it out and go make a play?
If it feels too good, pull out. This is something that I've learned from a coach from university, man, that stuck with me forever. If you beat an O-lineman so clean, right, it feels so good. I'm like, oh my God, I just roasted this O-lineman, right? I'm getting the sack. You probably didn't roast him that great, right? Something's going on here, right? He probably let you go by to throw the screen over top. So it feels just like you're the dude. That doesn't happen way too often, right? So if you beat this guy way too clean and you feel like something's up, those were the spidey senses that come in. We're like, oh, crap, it's a screen. Put your foot in the dirt. Try to find the running back. As a defensive end. As a D tackle, you're kind of the first one to hopefully find that screen out because you're taking two guys on, hopefully, and you're right at the line of scrimmage, and then hopefully you see this running back and then get him. If it's not the D tackle, hopefully it's a man coverage and a linebacker just has him right away. If it's a zone coverage and all the D linemen thinking we're just roasting these old linemen, it's going to be a bad play. So feels too good, pull out, baby.
Makes sense, though. Makes sense. I actually played with a D lineman when I was in college, and he seemed like he always would sniff out a screen. I don't know what it was. He just had that spidey sense, those Jedi reflexes. He just sniffed it out every single time.
Was he a good pass rusher?
He was a really good pass rusher.
Okay.
Yeah, he played in the NFL for a little bit. He's coaching now I think he just got a job at Colorado State, so he's the D-line coach there. But, yeah, he just did a really good job of always sniffing out screens. I don't know what it was. I never actually got a chance to ask him.
Probably just locking down the running back.
Yeah.
Seeing where he is a little bit, right? Because normally if he was a D-tackle, right? So D-tackle, normally when you're pass rushing, you're taking two guys, the center and the guard, as a nose tackle. So you're not getting too much pressure. So hopefully you're right at the line of scrimmage, right? And you're just kind of hopefully get off quickly and go find him. He's probably quick laterally.
Yeah. Oh, he was pretty quick laterally.
So he's one of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of the times I said, was he a good pass rusher? Because a lot of guys, D tackles who sniff out those screens, sometimes aren't really trying in their pass rush right now, right? Or they're gassed. And they're like, oh, God, I'm gassed, and stay on the line of scrimmage and then get lucky, you know what I mean, and pick up the screen. So
what do you think the key is to maintaining peak performance during the game as a D lineman is?
When it's your time to take a break and your other guys are in, take that break. You know what I mean? Make sure you're getting your water. Make sure you're taking breaths. Don't just sit there so anxious to get back in the game like your heart's still going. You need to get your heart down a little bit when you get to the sidelines. And for a special teamer especially, when you're running every 30 seconds in the CFL, you got to make sure when you're on the sideline, you're taking your breaks and you're taking your breaths and you're just sitting there and making sure you're in the presence of the moment. Because you can't always be jacked up, man. You got to be cool and collective sometimes. Because if you're jacked up on the sideline and yelling and screaming, you're using energy. So when you go out there, you're secretly not knowing that you're using that energy, and then you're tired when you get out there. So when utilize your breaks, when you get out there, take your 30 seconds, take your big breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Get your water, and then when you're ready, go by coach. Let them know you're ready to get subbed back in. What do you, because as an O-lineman, you don't really get subbed out.
You don't get subbed out, man.
So what do you do to maximize your conditioning out there?
Obviously, preparation in the offseason is huge. You want to definitely go into camp in shape. But I think O-line and D-line is one of those unique positions where you can't necessarily get fully into shape for O-line and D-line. You can get in pretty good shape, but when you start practicing and grappling, that's a different type of conditioning that gets used. So in camp, you generally will get like that second level it. But one thing I've really tried to really improve on, and it helps a lot, is learning how to breathe correctly.
Yes.
Breathing is a huge thing that nobody really talks about. Breathing through the diaphragm, the chest, and out through the mouth. I try to, between every single play, take at least 4 or 5 really good breaths.
Yeah. Through the nose?
Through out through the mouth. Yeah. So you got diaphragm, chest, fill it with air, out through the mouth. Get at least 4 or 5 of those. Yeah. I'm generally pretty good to go to the next play.
Yeah, breathing's the biggest part. I have a funny story. On special teams in Canadian football, you're running a lot because there's no fair catches. The field's way bigger than the NFL. And there's only 3 downs, right? So it's not 3 and out, it's 2 and out, right? So 2 and out, offense goes out there, it's 2 and out. We got a punt, right? So punt team's running out there. We run 60 yards, try to tackle this dude. We go back out, take a little break. If defense gets a 2 and out, we're back out there within at least 45 seconds a minute. And that can go on through a period of time. So one time I was so gassed, man, coming off the field, right? And normally you go to your section on the sideline, like there's the D-line, the O-line, the wide receivers, the DB. I was so gassed, man, that I sat right beside the O-line, right? And I had my head down. I was just trying to figure it out, trying to breathe, right? Because I was so gassed. And out of nowhere, all the O-linemen just sat beside me, because that's where they were sitting. They had to talk about their cover, their O-line stuff and everything. And then I didn't even realize it, but I was collapsed by O-linemen. And then the coach coming here yelling at the offensive lineman. And I couldn't move, right? So I was like, I'm just kind of like, oh, yeah. Yeah, right? And then I got out of there. And then the guys were like, what the fuck? What were you doing there, Dheilly, right? I was like, boys, I just needed a break, right? But it was the funniest moment in my entire life, man. Yeah. Nobody cared.
No, I was like, who's this guy?
What's this guy doing right now?
Depending on what just went on the field, if it was a bad series, probably getting cussed out.
They were getting cussed out, so they didn't even notice me at the time.
No one's even paying attention.
At the end, Dheilly? Hilarious, bro.
It's actually funny.
Oh, man. Even like this year, we had a buddy. We named TJ. You don't know if you know TJ. He was a beauty special team this year.
Receiver?
He was a linebacker, Sam linebacker. A huge hit against BC this year.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, but I don't know.
Beauty guy. Really good guy, right? His first year playing special teams on Canadian football. His first game, he was just chundying on the sideline because he was so gassed. Yeah. We were just laughing.
Yeah. I don't think people really get it.
Until you're in it. No. Yeah. If you think you're conditioned too in the offseason, you had the best condition. I was running. You're still not conditioned until you play 5 games. Yeah. 4 games.
That's when you really get into shape, really.
It's like,
yeah. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. Unless you're like doing some crazy things in the offseason. Right?
Exactly.
As a D lineman, how do you navigate double teams? Playing off double teams or anchoring down versus a double team?
A double team in the run, I'm going to attack one dude. If I attack both guys double teaming me, I'm going to get pushed back. It's just force, right? It's probably like 500 pounds worth of guys against a 200-pounder, right? So as a defensive lineman, make sure you attack one dude, right? Probably, hopefully, the lighter dude or the most outside guy, right? So I attack one dude and throw my hips in the gap, hopefully, right? And another lineman or fullback's probably going to try to bump me out and climb up to the linebacker or just straight bull me out, right? So as an undersized guy, it sucks, right? You just got to get your get off, attack one guy, and anchor down. And hold your gap. Make sure you don't get blown out because that's the most embarrassing thing. When two dudes just push you back 10 yards in film. You're like, what do you say? I'm like, yeah. Not much you can say. So sometimes when it's coming, you just got to be a dog, right? Play in run game, be an extra dog and win those double teams. Wow. In a pass, when double teams, if I'm a defensive end and the guard's coming to help, you can't take the inside rep, inside rush, right? So you really got to make sure you're either bullying the guy or really beating this guy with speed. And getting that get off because you're not going to be able to have the inside rush. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good advice. I think for us as O-linemen in the run game, if we get a double team, that's pretty favorable for us. Yeah. But from us, it's more so technique than anything else. Because if that first guy doesn't set that block properly or doesn't get a good piece, you can put the other guy in a really bad position.
In run game.
Yeah, in the run game. I think continuity with your guard or your tackle, whoever you run, like, working with is really important, and knowing exactly how they come off the ball, knowing where their leverage is going to be. Are they going to be thick through it? Are they not? So I have to get my head across to take over the block eventually. Does he know that?
Yeah.
So I think especially in training camp, I remember just doing a lot of like pods with 2 O linemen and 1 D lineman.
We had pods every day in camp.
I like that.
No, not camp. Sorry, the season. That's what I'm trying to say to you, bro. Bro, pods every day.
That's surprising.
Oh, bro. We were like, at the end of the year, we were
in pads too?
No, just in pods, like in no pads every day. And then into pads on the day we wore pads.
Mm.
It got to a point where we kind of like, okay, we're chill here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're not going 100%.
Nah, we're going 100%.
No, I know. And you get those guys, like, it was crazy. Yeah, in camp, there was fights, but like we kind of figured it out.
Yeah, no. See, like, I think the tough part I know you guys don't like it, but for us to get good at it, we have to go full speed.
You have to do it.
It's a waste of time for us.
Like we were saying earlier, you have to do it. You have to compete. You got to go full speed, and you got to do what you're going to do in the game.
Yeah, I think and obviously we all get into that moment where you're tired, it's camp, but like you have to kind of put to the forefront of your mind is like, I'm trying to do this to get better, especially if I'm going with somebody I play beside.
Yeah.
Now I need to get this rep.
Yes,
I need to get this rep because if we don't get it now, we're going to go into week 1, week 2, week 3 and not be able to do this well.
Seriously.
Right?
Yes,
so
sir.
I know it sucks. You guys don't want to take on double teams in practice. And really for that, it's like there's no winning for you guys really. Like
no. And you know what's funny, man? We would do pods every day. And then the O-line coach would say a run play you would do, right? Mm-hmm. Either like as a defensive end, I had my tackle, right? So either they'd give the tackle a straight out call to me, which would be a name call, or he would just go down and I would just 50-50 it, right? Mm-hmm. And every time, right, coach made him attack me every time. I would never get a 50-50. All year, he made me play the run. And I went up to him, I was like, why did you do that, man, right? Because he's like, I was trying to make you better. Like, you know what I mean? Like, look how much better you got in the run just by me sending this dude at you every day.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I appreciate that, coach, now. Yeah. Because at first I was like, bro, why am I competing so hard every time? And then when Pete went up there, Pete never had a dude like attack him. He just 50-50'd it. in pods every time. And then we got to a point Pete was just like laughing, like he won't do it ever. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, sometimes when you're that guy, bro,
when you're that guy,
they just allow you to.
He didn't even do pods, man.
Yeah, like,
just 50. And then we would literally laugh. It was like, that was a great 50-50. And it would just be 50-50.
The D-line. To be honest with that D-line group over in Sask, from when I was there, great group.
Still, straight group, great group guys. That's why I'm gonna miss the boys if they don't commit.
Yeah, I know it's obviously football, but like that's one of the first teams where like we actually generally liked. We generally liked you guys. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna.
Even though you guys hated Marino.
I didn't hate Marino.
No, but on the field you hated him. But off the field, the greatest guy ever.
But see, like I understood Marino, and like he never did anything to me, so like I didn't really have issues with Marino ever.
No,
but
Furlan did.
Him and Furlan would just go at it. I don't know what it was. Like,
remember the first 1-on-1 in camp that year?
Like he almost broke Furlan's neck.
And then
he almost broke.
It was a WWE slam.
Yeah, like Furlan blocked him, and then he grabbed Furlan, and like went to like suplex.
And then the next one, it was like the same thing, but Furlan got him.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. But like I don't know what it was with those guys. Like they just, and it's funny because remember at the beginning of the year we're just doing some light 1-on-1s. They seemed like they were chill, like
chilling
cool,
out, right?
Laughing back and forth. As soon as those pads got on, it was like, bro, what is going on right now?
But the funny thing is, that you go to the locker room and Marino act like nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
And then Furlan's like, I don't know what should say here. Yeah. You just try to kill me.
Yeah, but that's something. And I tell all people all the time is, if Marino's not on your team, you don't like him. But if he's on your team,
it's
bro,
a beauty. Yeah, great guy.
Great guy.
He's getting married too here soon. So
shout out Marino. Garrett Marino, man. Let's get a Garrett Marino story.
No, there's no not bad about Garrett, but.
So, what do you think is the hardest workout you ever had to do in college or pros or wherever?
Man, I remember this one time in the U of R, we had a strength coach that would like pretend he was your friend. Right, he would like always joke around like, "Hey guys, what's up, man? What's on the weekend? Oh, you did this, right?" Try to figure your life out, and then he'd switch on you, right? So midway during this workout, we were having a great workout, and maybe I was screwing around a little bit, right? I was making some jokes and everything, and he was making some jokes back to me, right? I was like, "Oh yeah, we're making some jokes, right? I'm an 18, 19-year-old guy, and maybe like strength condition coach of beauty, he's 27-year-old, maybe I'm like cool guy, man, right?" Out of nowhere, he snapped. He's like, "Oh, you think this is funny? You think we're talking and this is all fun? You're not trying at all, Nick?" I'm like, You were just talking, right? And he just snapped right in front of me, the whole team, right? I don't know if he was trying to do a thing because I was like maybe a leader or something. I don't know what. But he made us lunge 100 yards. Like say lunge, when you're just lunging 100 yards, right? But he made our knee hit the ground every time you went to lunge. And he did us all the way there, all the way back, all the way there, all the way back. And like one point I just dropped. We all dropped at some point until all of us couldn't do it no more. And then I was actually so pissed. I was generally actually angry at the time because I was like, no way this guy actually played me like this. We were friends, right? And then he came at the end, he's like, there's no friends here. It's all about work, right? And then I don't know if he was trying to show me something, but it pissed me off so much. So until this day,
you played yourself.
Pissed me off, played myself. So I never was buddy ever again. When I went to workouts, I'm working.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I guess he showed me something. I guess right in a cool kind of way. I think shout out Soup. Campbell Antonini, man, he showed me that. One of my coaches back in the day. He owns one of the Sask brick, not Sask. What is it? What's brick house? Not brick house. It's
Sask Built.
Sask Built. He owns that gym now, right?
Okay,
so shout out that dude. He showed me a life lesson that day. Even though I hated him that day, and probably for like a good 6 months after that, I was like, no way that guy played me. That workout will hit me forever, and I'll probably do that to maybe my group of guys one day. You know what I mean? Fuck with them screw around with them for a little bit, and then what? No, we're not friends.
You think it's a joke?
This is a joke now to you?
It's a game?
Like warm him up a little bit, right? I saw how he did it now. It's a really smart way. What about yourself? What workout back in the day, university, high school?
See, I can name so many. So at OU, our strength and conditioning coach, his name is Jerry Smitty.
Yeah.
And people who know about the legend of Smitty knows that he is one of the most hard-nosed strength and conditioning coaches there is in the whole entire universe.
Okay.
Right? Like, that's just, you don't play with Smitty. And I've had my fair share of run-ins where we have a workout, I couldn't finish the workout, and he's pissed off, or we didn't make our time or something. But this one workout stands out to me. So I remember at the end of the year, not the end of the year, end of like the summer, we're doing our last little bit of stuff where we're kind of seeing our weight and how we progressed during the summertime. And he said, oh, yeah, we have the final thing we're going to do going into camp. And he didn't really say what it was too tough, so I didn't know what it was. But some people who've been there prior were like, yeah, we're about to do the ramp.
The ramp?
I'm like, what the ramp? What was he talking about? Yeah, bro, the ramp, bro. It's a crazy workout.
Yeah.
We're able to do the ramp.
Okay, give me a bit. What is the ramp about?
So you go to we had a 5 or 6 story parking garage. I can't remember right now. So we had to run the ramps all the way from the bottom to the top, timed for our end of the summer workout. And if you made your time, that was it. If you didn't make your time, you got to go again.
Did each position have a different time, obviously?
Yeah, each position had a different time. So I remember him telling us at this point, it's super hot. I remember being out there. We just finished a bunch of other stuff. We did a light lift, and we got to do this ramp now. So this is my first time doing a ramp. So he's like, okay, Biggs, you guys are going. So O-line, D-line, we're going together.
Yeah.
There's about 20-something of us. And I see everybody kind of fighting for the position to get right beside the wall, obviously because it's a shorter distance to run. I didn't understand why.
Smart.
Super smart. Me not being smart, didn't understand why. So at this time, the ramp is probably a good 70 yards each way. So we have to do that 6 times to get to the top.
Okay, so
he blows the whistle. We take off running, and I'm running. I hit the first 3. I'm feeling good. By the time I got to that 4th one, that lactic acid built up all of my thighs. My calves were sore. My feet were sore. My back was sore. I think most of us barely squeaked by and made our time. We had a couple guys who failed and had to do it again.
Oh.
But I remember the way my body felt after that ramp was I could not have done another one. I could not have done another one. He would have to scream at me and cuss at me because I would never finish another one of those.
Was it the same for everybody too?
Oh, everybody was dying.
Yeah.
Everybody was dying. I remember some people even had to take the golf cart to the bottom. I knew it was bad. When you know it's a bad workout, when the training staff is right beside you guys as we're doing the workout. They were right there with bottles, and some people are at the top, some people are halfway through.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're taking a lot of precaution for this workout. What's going on right now?
Yeah.
Just to make sure we can get through it. It was the hardest thing I would say I have ever had to do when I was at OU.
What do you think about being put through hard workouts? Because there's people in life that's never been put through a task like that, that had to achieve it knowing that they get cut or knowing that they get fired in their jobs.
Yeah.
So what would you say to them that going through something like that, what would you achieve? What does it achieve?
It's a mental thing, man. It's a mental thing. I remember when I first got to OU, I was talking to one of the veteran lineman who's been there for a couple of years. His name is Ty Darlington. And I was like, why? What's the point of doing all this stuff? Like,
yeah.
And he's like, it's a mental thing. We need to see who's mentally tough. We need to see who's going to break when things get hard. We need to see who's going to give up when things get hard so we can actually know who we can count on.
Yeah.
I think the same thing applies to life. That's why it's good to do tough things. Know where your limits are, right? Am I a person, when things get difficult, I'm going to cut bait and run? Or do I embrace the moment? Do I step up to the challenge? Do I try and endure through tough times, through hard times? Because those things in life are super important, right? And I think it's a good thing to learn at a young age. And that's why parents, make your kids do hard things. Like, don't just protect them and shelter them for everything. Make sure they're doing hard things. Make sure they're getting pushed. Because the better they get at that is the easier they'll be able to navigate life. Because life is not easy.
No, and we always see those adults that haven't been put through those situations at a young age have a hard time dealing with it when they're 30 or 40. And they really don't know how to handle it. And they truly go through like a traumatic experience.
Yeah, and I think that we're all going to go through that time. And you want to go through that time when you are 10 to 15, because at least you're there with your family, your
even
parents.
Though if you don't like it right now,
they can kind of guide you. Like going through a really hard workout, and don't go to the coach, oh, it's too hard for him. Like, hey, like, talk to your kids. Hey, that was really tough. Did you ever feel like you wanted to quit? Like, inquire those things about them and see what they how they respond, and then encourage them if they do believe that, and say, like, I'm proud of you for continuing to go. A lot of people will quit in that situation, and you'll be surprised what that will do for your kids' confidence. And later on the line, maybe they're age 30 and they're going through something that's really tough in life. Maybe they started a business not going too great, and their first response isn't to cut bait and run. Their first response is what you said to them when they're young, and that's to stand up and fight and scrape and
figure it out
and to grow and develop in that. Because every single person, we're going to go through our battles, whether it's with sports, whether it's with life, and we're going to come out a better person if you want to embrace that moment, right? I think that's really important, and I think that the younger you learn that lesson, the better, because the older you get it, it's just more and more traumatic, like you were saying. What do you think the importance of being a versatile D lineman is in today's game?
First of all, it's going to get you paid more. It's going to get you paid more money. And then you can do multiple things. I've heard one thing that a coach told me was, the more you can do, man. And I was like, the more you can do, right? I was like, yeah, like the more you can do on a football team and contribute to your team, they're going to want to keep you around, right? So the more you can do like outside of your normal position, right? If I'm a defensive end, but I can play all the special teams, and I can also lawn snap, right? And they can put me in multiple different positions if they really needed me to do it. It helps out more when a guy can't do all those things, right? Even though he's equivalent or a little better than me. Because in the CFL, it's an 18-game season, man. You're going to need guys to be there for 18 games. And someone's going to get hurt at some point, right? So I know everybody looks at being a starter as the biggest thing, but truly being a guy who can be a reserve guy and play any position out there is truly something special too.
100%.
So just if you're in the CFL or you're in the NFL, you're a professional, regardless of what you're doing, regardless of what position. You're a PR guy, you're a starter, you're a backup, you play some special teams, you rotate sometimes, you're the sixth man on the offensive line. You're still a professional athlete.
100%.
And that's one thing that really hit me a few months ago. Was like, man, I'm still a professional athlete. I'm still in the game, still doing my thing. And if I was looking at myself since a university kid or a high school kid, I'd be blown away. Be blown away. Even though I'm not a starter, I'm not the dude in the CFL, right? Like we all dream to be. It doesn't change my perspective of being a professional athlete. And it's still very hard to be a professional in whatever you do in life. So look at what you have in front of you and look what you get to do every day as a football player, as an athlete, and enjoy the process. Because it still hasn't ended for me yet, thankfully, but it ends for a lot of people quicker than they think.
I think you made a really good point. And I think the good point is this: the more you can do, because it'll extend your career. So you being a person who could play on special teams, you being a person who can rush the passer, you being a person who can drop back and play an eagle, you being a person who can play in different spots. Once they're making decisions on who they're going to keep on that roster, if you can do all those things and there's someone you're going against, really, because we're all competing for jobs. And if you can do that and somebody else can't, guess who's going to be on the roster? And
that's what I noticed, right? You don't have to focus so much about being the dude. And that was me in Winnipeg. My first year, I just thought I'm going to be this D-end, right? I'm going to just be a D-end. And I completely forgot about special teams, completely forgot about everything else, right? And I had a really good camp and everything, but it didn't matter, right? They have their guys. They have their dudes, right? And then it really hit me like, okay, if I want to be professional, I got to figure out different ways to contribute to the team.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Not everybody is the damn dude when they go to the CFL.
100%.
Or the NFL.
That's how it is. Like, there's a couple of different all-star spots, a couple of different Pro Bowl spots in the NFL. Everybody else has to be versatile.
Has to be.
I think that, especially if you talk about an O-lineman, if you were just being like, hey, I only play right guard, it's going to be tough for you to win a job against a guy who plays left guard, right tackle, left tackle, center, right?
Exactly.
It just makes more sense because he can fill more hats. It's always one of those things, no matter what position you play, whether you're playing DN, D tackle, O-line, when you're playing center or guard or tackle, try to find a secondary or third position that you can actually sharpen your toolbox, so you can actually have more versatility and value to the team, right?
Exactly.
Always try to do more. Never just box yourself to I only play this one position, because if you do, you better be damn good at that position.
Seriously. So would you tell right tackles to work on your left tackle stances?
Yes. As much as I hate flipping and flopping, right, you have to be able to do both, right? So I look at my career. I've started games at 3 different spots in the CFL now, both guard spots and right tackle, right?
Yep.
Numerous games, right? So that's something that you never really have just one position you're going to play. You're going to play a bunch of different spots because sometimes they have to shuffle the deck. Maybe we have a young rookie who they only feel comfortable with him playing right guard, so they're like, hey, I need you to flop over here.
Yeah, and that happens a lot in the CFL. There's a lot of Canadian kids that play left tackle in university, but they come in and they're not being a left tackle in the CFL. They're playing guard or center. So would you tell those guys, still work on your guards, or do you maybe learn to snap a little bit, just in case when you get to the professional level, it all switches up on you?
I would say any single person who is a lineman, learn how to snap at least a little bit.
Okay.
I think that's one of the hardest positions to replace as a good center. And a lot of times, if you have a veteran guard who can snap, they'll move you in there, right?
Yeah.
But if you can't snap, then they got to play a young rookie or somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience playing that position, which is not always the best case. You've been playing football for a long time. What is the best football game that you've ever played in terms of environment, in terms of like you're playing it, the best game you've ever played in?
Like just played it, not even solo wise or like stats wise, just
played in.
Just played in. Probably my first start in U of R, man. Like I was a 18-year-old kid, and they didn't start me my first 4 games. Somebody got hurt the first game, right? And I was like, oh, okay, they're gonna put me in now, right? No, they put in another kid, right? Then the next game, that kid got hurt. Then they put in another dude in front of me, right? They really didn't trust me, right, on defense. So I was like, I was a teamer again, just like I am in the CFL my first year in U of R. And then the 4th game, this guy got sick or something, right? So they were like, Nick, we have to play you. Have to play you. We actually have to play you, right? And I was like, well, okay, that sounds great, right? I was like, whatever, though, right? I was too light. I was like 210, 205, right? So they thought I couldn't anchor down, couldn't be that guy, because we played a 34. So we had a 3 front. Right, so as a 30 front, you want to play anchoring down on the run. You don't want to be a faster dude. Really. Yeah. So they gave me the chance, and it was against the best team in the country. They ended up winning the Vanier that year, which would have been the national championship for the States. And so that's why they were freaking out, right? They're putting me in, doing that, right? So I'm 18-year-old. I finally get my first start. I didn't care what anybody was thinking. I knew everybody was thinking I was going to fail and everything. I go in there, and I get 3 sacks. 3 sacks, tie the school record for sacks in a game, everything as a freshman, right? Against the best team in the country, right? And going against the best O-linemen, like O-linemen that are now in the CFL and everything.
Was that Calgary?
Calgary. So, you know, like Skeevier, those guys at Calgary right now. And I think there's another one in Hamilton. And I got 3 sacks that game as an 18-year-old, man, and it changed my life completely. The next game, what do you think happened? Who do you think started the next game when everybody was healthy?
You definitely did.
I definitely did, right? And then proved a lot of guys wrong. So it was really cool that people didn't think I could do it. And regardless of the 3 sacks that happened, that projected my life as a pass rusher and kept me there. And it really like made me happy. They just like, looking back on it, man, I was like, that was the coolest day of my life. Proving people wrong and then having a really great game. And we won that game too. We beat the best. It was like an upset beating Calgary.
I know it was a sick environment.
And the thing, and it was a sick environment because like, it was at last second. The Calgary was driving the ball and they get a touchdown to win, right? So it was last play and they're running the ball and our guys stop them with the 1-yard line kind of stuff. And they score, they won. If they didn't, we stop them at the 1. Like that kind of game too. Like some guy even another guy on defense got MVP over me from the 3 sacks because he got like 15 tackles.
Oh my goodness!
So it's like one of these crazy games that just happened. And Mitch Picton, he was on the game too, and he had like four tuds. It was a crazy game.
Picton's a legend, man. Shout out to Picton.
Yeah, he's a sass freaking legend, man. Mm-hmm. Mitchell Picton. What about you? What was your best game ever as an offensive lineman? You probably had many playing Div 1 school atmosphere.
I think probably my favorite game is my senior year. We played Tennessee the year prior. We blew them out, and now we're going to play at Tennessee. Tennessee's over 100,000 people in the stadium, packed house. It's a primetime game. I think this is the first year Baker was actually able to play. He transferred from Texas Tech. But he had to sit out that year, but this is before transfer portal. But this year, he was actually eligible to play. He's a starter now. And I remember we're just preparing for the game. They're telling us the whole week, like, it's going to be super loud. It's going to be loud. It's going to be loud. I remember they even playing crowd noise. I'm like, bro, it's not going to be that loud. They're actually just going overboard. Like, I've played in some loud stadiums before, and it's never been this loud. Yep. And when I say it was every bit and more that loud, it was the most crazy environment I've ever played in. I remember every time you got to third down, they'll have a big thing that was third down for what, and like a big bong, and the crowd would erupt and go crazy. I remember you can you could feel the atmosphere on your skin. That's how crazy that environment was. I remember just going in, and we started slow. We're down a half. Offense, we weren't clicking at all. It got to the fourth quarter where we hey, it's now or never. If we don't do this, we're gonna lose this game. We ended up driving and scoring, and then we had another drive to score and tie the game to send it to overtime. We had, I want to say that it was like a 15-20 play drive. I remember I was so gassed at the end of it, so tired. We punch it in. Baker keeps it, scores. We're going to overtime. We go to OT. We get the ball first. I want to say we score, and then they throw a pick. We storm the field, win in double overtime. It was such a fun game, such a fun environment. And that propelled us to go all the way to the Final Four that year. That was that game. So
yeah, I couldn't even imagine something like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think that was probably my first. I've obviously played in games prior to that, but a stadium that big and that loud was like, wow, this is insane.
Yeah, perhaps for the NFL though.
Yeah, I know. I think I think some NFL stadiums are smaller than some of these college stadiums now. Yeah. Especially in the SEC. They pride themselves on these big, massive stadiums for recruiting purposes, right? For sure. Yeah. They all want to say, we have the biggest stadium. We hold the most people.
They fill it up, though.
They do fill it up. Yeah. They do fill it up. So, yeah, that was probably the most entertaining, fun game. That's a game I'm always going to remember until the day that I leave this earth. But
cool, man.
Yeah, cool. Such a fun one.
Okay, well, let's wrap this up. If you guys like this long format conversation with me and Josiah, let us know in the comments so we can make more of these.
Let us know what are the best games you played in, man. I want to hear some of your stories or places you want to go play or stadiums you want to go see. Put it in the comments. We can talk about it some more.